Girls Talk Shirts. Hey, everyone.
Hello, guys.
Another week. We're both in the studio.
Yes. Another week, another pod.
Your eyes got really small.
Like Morgan size small.
We love you, Morgan.
And your tiny little eyes.
Beady eyes. That's what my dad calls her. So this week, first off, I hope everybody made it through the storm okay. It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
We thankfully at my house we didn't have any crazy damage. A little bit of water got into our sunroom and we did have a small tree crack. But other than that, we just didn't have power till last night. So 3.5 days without power, which I will never take it for granted ever again. But yeah, hope everybody made it through.
Yeah, I hope you now have power and you're able to listen to us this week on either Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or now YouTube.
We are now on YouTube, which is pretty cool. I think we had a Girls Talk Shirts video that we put on YouTube several years ago, like whenever we were just recording them. And I feel like we were doing that to like try to get on Ellen. If I recall that correctly.
Which, like, looking back, that doesn't age well, trying to get on Ellen.
But yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, now you can find us on YouTube. And it's under Girls Talk Shirts Pod, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
So
it'll have the same, like, pink, like, little head Girls Talk Shirts logo on it. Yep.
Cool. So yeah, now you can listen on there. Let us know. This won't happen anytime soon because there's a lot of research that would have to go into it.
Yeah.
But let us know if you would like us to look into, I don't know how to, recording ourselves.
Like having like video.
Yeah, to go along with it, to put on YouTube.
Recording. Yeah.
I know a lot of podcasts do that,
Mm-hmm.
but it would take a lot of research to figure out in terms of what we would need to accomplish that. And it would also take a lot of work. So,
yeah. So like the thing is like, it's not like we're using like a company or anything to help us edit these episodes. It is I, Emily, recording every single episode. So if you don't like the way it's maybe like spliced or anything, just tell me because I'm the one doing it. And while I think it would be fun to maybe eventually have like video for like our now YouTube page of the podcast, it really scares me thinking about like, well, how in the world am I going to edit that? Because right now I'm editing everything on GarageBand and it's fairly simple to do. But I don't even know what program I would have to use to do video.
And then just take a lot of research.
We'd have to look up like the best kind of cameras to get. And would we want it to just be like one angle or do we want 2 or 3 angles, to kind of bounce around between like looking just at you and then looking just at me and then the both of us like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, let us know. Do you want to see our faces while listening to us or are you okay with just hearing our voices? Because because we record on Sundays are like the only day of the week where like I do put makeup on and I maybe do a little something with my hair because I'm going out, I'm going to church, I'm seeing other people and I want to look presentable. So then that could also translate to being then on camera.
Right.
But yeah, it's just a lot. We would have to definitely really, really look into it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just let us know. So rolling into this week's episode, we did mention in a previous episode that we had planned for another special guest to join us. And today is that day. It is my friend, my bestie for my entire life, really. Megan, who we are going to call here in just a moment. She is all the way in Tennessee. Which, backstory on my friendship with Megan, we have known each other since the 4th grade. We did not like each other for the first couple years of our friendship, which really I don't understand a lot of it, but it goes later into like a feud between like our cheer teams. Whenever we did Little League, we were on opposite teams and there was a feud, but either way, in 6th grade, we both went to the same school. We're cheering together, and we became practically inseparable, which we stayed until her and her family moved when we were in high school, which was devastating. But we have somehow managed to stay very close all of these years. We talk as often as we can, but she is a busy lady, as am I. So we recently actually had to schedule a phone call like 2 weeks out. We had to schedule a time that we were both available to get on the phone, and we just had a catch up session. But we wanted to talk to her because her journey into motherhood looked a lot different than she had anticipated, her family had anticipated, anybody around her had anticipated. And her entire life changed. So I just wanted to have her on to give her perspective of how everything happened, and how life is now and how she's kind of navigating it. And I think it would just be good. And she's to a place now where I feel like she feels that she can talk about it and, not completely fall apart. So yeah, that's kind of what we're going to do this episode.
All right, let's get her on the line.
All right, let's call her.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
How's it going?
Oh, it's good. How are y'all?
Good.
Good.
Recovering from the hurricane?
Stupid hurricane. I finally got my power back last night, and that was the hardest thing. Did you lose power at all, Emily?
Yeah, we were without power for probably I'd say close to 18-ish hours. We ended up coming here because Anthony's office thankfully had power. So we came here to hang out for a little bit. And then we were like, okay, let's go back home, see if it's on. And thankfully it was. So
yeah. Well, what's crazy was Pam, my mother-in-law, actually flew up to Tennessee.
Yeah.
On last Sunday, and the storm was hitting on Wednesday. They both flew back from Memphis on Monday.
Oh no, they should have stayed. My parents, my mom and Danny were actually there for a wedding, and they flew back to Tennessee Monday, and they were saying how they were talking about shutting down the airports and everything Tuesday.
Yeah, that's how Tampa closed, I think maybe Tuesday night, and I think Orlando closed Tuesday morning. But yeah, so they had to decide quick if they were going to come back or not. But their dog was here, and their dog is basically their child. So they had to come back for Maggie and just to, I guess, get their house ready. But yeah, they were there for a day.
Getting gas has been insane.
Biggest.
Have you seen just the longest lines at gas stations? And it's like, why are we waiting in this long line?
Here, whenever there's snow coming or
people just
ice,
freak out.
people will run out and get water, milk, bread, and gas.
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
I know.
It's nice to know that it's universal, though. It's not just here.
Would you rather, because you used to live here, so you went through some hurricanes, and now you've also gone through, major snowstorms in Tennessee. Which would you rather have, a hurricane or a snowstorm?
A hurricane. I mean, me personally, I would rather go through a hurricane, but I never had any really, really bad damage at our house, so I would say a hurricane. But I was also a kid then, so it wasn't my house that I was having to, put tarp on the roof and all that. But I just don't like the snow because it's not the snow so much that's bad. It's really the ice because it's just so dangerous. And if you try to get out, you don't know what's going to happen, if somebody's going to slide into you or if you're going to slide into somebody else.
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't like the fact of being stuck.
Yes.
See, I've never seen
that
snow,
is
so I don't know.
exactly how I felt when the short time that we lived in Kentucky, whenever it snowed, Anthony and I would, being born and bred Floridians, it's like, when do we know when black ice occurs? How do we know?
Yeah.
Do we not know until it's too late, until we're sliding to our death on the black ice? I don't know. And I don't like this.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought, okay, I can get a car that's 4-wheel drive and I'll be fine to drive. But I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, okay, I have a 4-wheel drive car now. It's fine. And my dad's like, no.
I always found it weird when people would talk about putting like chains on their wheels. And I'm like, what is a chain going to do? And then
I don't know about all that.
I don't get it. But I mean, I've also never seen snow.
I
so
think
I have
it maybe
no
has something to do
all.
with like traction, I guess, but I also don't know.
Shouldn't your tire have
we
traction?
never, well, yes, but it's a different type of traction because it's a chain.
Oh my gosh.
But like, I just would think that would cause more damage to the tire than anything, but
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't know. We never did it for the short time we lived there, and I couldn't tell you if I saw anybody with chains on their tires, so I don't know.
Yeah, me either.
I don't know.
I've heard people say, or like y'all talk about on the podcast, that people say that y'all's voices sound alike. And I never really thought that until now. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I thought that was Savannah. And I was like, no, she did not live in Kentucky.
I did, but you got tricked. You didn't know that. No,
you all do sound alike, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, you've heard it here, folks. Apparently we do sound exactly alike.
I don't know. Let me be with Megan for a little bit and the twang in my voice starts to come out. Even Aaron said that the last time we were in Memphis and we went and had dinner with you and Cody. And that night, whenever we left, there was already like a twang in my voice. And Aaron's like, oh, there it is.
It's hard not to do because there would be sometimes like living in Kentucky when I would like mimic everybody's voices there. And even like when Atticus was in kindergarten, there would be certain things that he would say that because he was learning it at school and they all had that accent, he would like I can remember him coming home and counting to 10. It was 1, 2, 3. And Anthony and I were like, what in the world just happened to you? And then like when it started getting cold outside, instead of saying cold, it's cold outside.
It's cold.
Okay.
There's nothing cuter though than a little kid that has like that little country twang.
Yeah,
I love
but see,
it.
I don't see it like in me. I don't feel like I have one. And even people up here are like, where are you from? You're definitely not from here. You don't talk like us. And I'm like, oh, I'm from Florida, but I haven't lived there in forever. So they even think I don't sound like I'm from here.
No, I remember when you first moved, after like a couple months, I would talk to you and I could hear it. And I'm like, oh, there it is. And especially when I came up for your wedding, I feel like I came back and it was just there. And it took like a solid week for me to like talk normal. My normal, I guess.
Around.
But yeah, exactly. But no, I definitely hear it in your voice, just knowing you for as long as I have.
Yes.
But which that is something we did kind of do the intro for the episode before we called you. And I did give like a little background on our friendship and how we started off a wee bit rocky at the beginning of our relationship for unknown slight reasons. And then it just kind of, 6th grade happened and we just became inseparable after that. Oh, blossomed. I love that. And then how we've just managed to stay, close all these years. And so we wanted to take the time to talk to you because, I know everything as much as, I can about your life, your marriage, your everything. And, your journey into motherhood was not what you expected, not what your family expected, and, how you've navigated it as gracefully and as strong as you have.
Well, I wouldn't say all that, but thanks.
Being an outsider's perspective, I don't know how you've made it through the way that you have. And so we just wanted to talk to you and let you have the opportunity to kind of just tell us your story. And yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know if I'll tell too much or if y'all want to stop me in the middle and ask me questions. If I'm not answering all the questions that you have, like, feel free. But so I guess I'll just start at the beginning just to like give a little backstory before I actually get into how everything happened. So Cody and I started dating. Cody is my husband, and we started dating when I was 21. And I actually lived in Middle Tennessee at the time, and he lived in West Tennessee at the time. I met a friend in college, and it was during the summertime, and I came to see her for a weekend because she wasn't up at college. So I came to her house to see her for a weekend. And while I was over there, Cody was actually over there hanging out with one of her brothers, and that's how we met. We didn't just hit it off right away, but I mean, he definitely tried to sleep with me that night, but I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'll never see you again. You live 4 hours away from me, you know? So we talked a little bit on Snapchat, you know, and then he actually came to Middle Tennessee around Halloween that same year. And since then, I mean, we just kept talking, and then he came and asked me to be his girlfriend and everything. So him and I dated for like a year and a half, long distance, I mean, it wasn't super long. It was 3.5, 4 hours away. And then he bought a house, asked me to move in with him. And so that's what we did. And then I moved, you know, left my family in Middle Tennessee. And the only person, I mean, I knew Cody and I knew his friends, but I didn't have anyone here in West Tennessee. But, you know, I knew that I wanted to be with him, and the friends I had made through him, you know, were pretty good friends. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so I moved in with him, and my mom was like, this will never work. Like, you'll end up coming home, you'll get homesick, and you can't be away from me this long because, you know, me and my mom are besties. So I moved, and everything was great. We stayed in that house for a few years, ended up getting married. And then not long after we got married, we put our house up for sale, and we decided that we wanted to start talking to an architect about, you know, wanting to build. So we started talking to an architect, sold our house, came up with some house plans, and we lived with his parents while we built our house. So it took about, I don't know, 10 months to build the house. We had just gotten in the house, you know, everything was going great. Not that there's a right and a wrong way to do things, because we did live together before marriage, but, you know, we dated for a long time, and then we lived together, we got married, and, you know, we built a house. So, like, you know, we both had jobs that we loved. And so, like, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, things were going very good, you know, in our eyes. Mm-hmm. So we had lived in our house just a few months, and we decided we were going to start trying to get, you know, to have a baby. So I tried to get pregnant. And after a few months of trying, I got pregnant. And Cody was so excited. I think he wanted a kid more than I did. But and so got pregnant, and he wanted a boy. I wanted a boy. And we found out we were having a boy. So at this point, I got pregnant in March. So I was due in December. So we hadn't lived in the house quite a year yet. November would have been a year. And so in October 2021, Cody works like a swing shift kind of thing, where some days he works day, some days he works night. So on this particular day, he had worked a night shift. It was actually his last night shift of the week. And it was just a Monday, though. But for his week, it was his last night shift. And he had planned on going fishing the next morning after he had gotten off work. And two of his friends were going to go with him, which wasn't abnormal at all. I mean, Cody's the biggest crappie fisher you'll ever meet. And so he pulled his boat to work, and they were going to leave straight from work, and they were going to go fishing. So Cody and I, that night before work, we went and ate. And he went into work, you know, just like normal. I had talked to him one time while he was at work. And I took a shower, you know, got ready. I had to work the next day. So I was, you know, just watching TV, sitting in the living room with our dog. And, sorry.
No, take your time.
I thought I would be okay. And I mean, I'm going to be able to get through it. It's hard for me to even talk about it, but we're going to do it.
Relive that night. I'm sure it's hard.
Yeah,
so
it sucks, but I mean, it is something that I can talk about now. I look over, and our front door, I see his mom at our front door, which we built our house right beside his parents. And she's knocking on the front door, kind of manically. And I'm like, what? You know, it's dark outside. It's not super late, but I would say it's, you know, 8:30 or 9. So I get up, you know, and I open up the door, and she was like, you got to get dressed. you got to get dressed. Jared's on his way over here. We're going to take you to the hospital. Cody's been in an accident at work. And I'm like, what? And I'm like just freaking out. And I just dropped down to the floor. And just because I knew then it was bad. I didn't know the extent of it, which none of us knew the extent of it at that point. But so I dropped down to the floor. She's like, you got to get up. We got to get ready. So I start, throwing my pajamas off. And here comes his dad walking in our house while, seeing me naked. And so I'm putting clothes on, just trying to grab myself together, So we get in the truck and his dad is driving me and his mom. And me and his mom are, freaking out. And I'm like, what's going on? Because I haven't heard from Cody. I haven't heard from his work. And then also a lot of our good friends work out there with him. And I hadn't heard from any of them. And I was like, what's going on? And he works at a chemical plant. So, I expected if something bad were to happen, to him at work, I would expect it to be with chemicals. But she told me, she said, he's fallen at work. And I'm like, okay, so, and I didn't know what to think. I just knew that something was up because once again, Cody didn't call me and say, hey, I'm okay. I'm on the way to the hospital, but I'm okay. Or have one of his friends call me and say, hey, this is what's happened to Cody. He wanted me to call and tell you everything's okay. Because, at this point, I'm 7.5 months pregnant.
Right.
So there is a bunch of hospitals in Memphis, but there is a level 1 trauma. Is that right? Like the best trauma is at level 1? Okay. So there's one that all people in, Memphis or the surrounding areas, that's where they are life flighted or whatever too. So they told me that we were going to the Med, which is the place of this level 1 trauma hospital. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, why the Med? So I start freaking out. And, they're like, we don't know, So I call his friends. Neither one of them answer. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? So then I call one of our friends' wives that he was out actually at work and was going to be one of the ones going fishing with Cody the next morning. So I call her. I'm like, hey, can you have him call me? Like, I'm freaking out. Something's going on. Like, Cody's up on the way to the hospital. I need to know more. And I can't get him to answer the phone. And she's like, okay, whenever I get a hold of him, I'll tell him to call you. Okay. So one of his other friends called me and he was very calm. And I don't know how he did it, but he was like, hey, Megan, and I'm like, hey, and I actually went to college with this guy. I actually knew him before I knew Cody.
Mm-hmm.
So he's, talking me through things and he's like, yeah, Cody fell. And I'm like, what? Like how, did he break a leg? What happened? And he's like, no, he fell, pretty far. He fell probably about 25 feet. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And, he's still not telling me anything about his state or anything. So I'm just confused still, but, it seems like we live about 45 minutes away from that hospital, but it seems like it's taken forever for us to get there. So he assures me, he's like, he's going to be okay, and I just think that he didn't want to freak me out because I'm 7.5 months pregnant and he doesn't know how to break this news to me. And once again, his work has yet to call me to let me know what's going on. So then his other friend called me that was there and I could hear in his voice that he was very upset and he was really choked up. And I was like, well, I was asking him more questions and he was like, yeah, he fell pretty far, he was bleeding, but they still didn't let me know anything. And I mean, at that point, they really didn't know the extent of his injuries or anything. But he told me, I said, so what was Cody saying, and he was like, well, he wasn't saying anything. And I was like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
So we finally get to the hospital and this is during COVID still, but so me and his mom get out of the truck and we just run up there and try to go in. And they're like, no, you can't come in, COVID, blah, 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 blah. So we wait outside for hours before we know anything about Cody's condition. Someone from his work actually does end up showing up to the hospital with us. And we're just still waiting outside, not in a lobby or anything. They won't let us go inside. And I don't know how in detail do you want me to get about the actual hospital experience, because I mean, there was a lot of things that went on at the hospital that night, but I don't think it's really relevant,
Yeah.
So anyway, somebody from his work, one of his supervisors is there and he's, telling me that Cody actually fell 40 feet. And I'm just in shock. We're just like, what do you mean? And, So we're learning more and more while we're standing out there, you know, talking, but we still haven't heard from a doctor or a nurse or anything as to what's going on. And so I'm on the phone to my mom that, you know, lives 3.5, 4 hours away, and her and my dad had actually just been at our house that past weekend helping us put the nursery together. We had just finished the nursery on that Sunday. His accident was Monday. So they're like, well, okay, you know, we're coming. We're on our way. So my mom, my dad, my brother get in the car, and they're heading down here because they can kind of tell, you know, it's something bad.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, I'm still waiting on my parents to get here, but finally a doctor comes and calls us back. And actually, it was I think you call them a chaplain that works at a hospital.
Yeah.
Is that what they are called? Okay. So, and you know, whenever you see those, it's like not good,
Right.
you know? And so he puts us in this little tiny room that's very, very small. But, you know, there's some chairs, a trash can, and so he just puts us in this room, tells us to wait, and that a doctor will be with us soon. And it feels like we're in there forever, and we're just up pacing, you know, because after he left us, you know, it's the chaplain that puts us in this tiny room. We're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So finally a doctor comes in, and she tells us so many injuries that Cody has. I mean, multiple facial fractures. He's got gashes on his legs. You know, he's injured pretty bad. But she says the most, you know, substantial injury is he's got a traumatic brain injury. He fell very hard on his face, on his head, and he's got multiple facial fractures, and his ear was basically off, like hanging off, and his back and his neck have injuries. But at that point, we really don't know, like, you know, but I mean, if you think about it, falling 40 feet, like, the chances are not good, you know. Pretty much anyone that falls from that high or anything, you think they're going to be paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we still don't know anything about, you know, we still haven't got to see him, but we just know that he's had a traumatic brain injury. They're talking about, you know, his brain swelling and everything. And, you know, you don't really know what all that entails or anything. So they tell us to go back outside, and they'll come get us shortly with another update. So a nurse comes outside and says that one person can go back and see Cody. He is out of it. They are monitoring, you know, they're going to wait and do some scans soon, but they're monitoring his brain injury, and they have him in this, you know, emergency room. So I was like, I just don't know. You know, after I talked to this other doctor, I don't want to go in there and him not look like himself. You know, he's got these multiple facial fractures. You know, you see these movies and of people walking in and not even noticing that it's their husband or their daughter or whatever. So I was so scared, you know, and again, I'm 7.5 months pregnant. I'm like, what if I get back there and I freak out and I end up going into labor? Like, I'm just thinking all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to actually talk to the nurse, and she ends up letting me and Cody's mom go back. So we go back, and I mean, he doesn't look bad at all. You know, I mean, he's pretty banged up and everything, but he totally looks like himself. He's not with it at all. But so we're back there. We're talking to him and everything, and we were able to stay back there for about 10 minutes.
Was he awake during that time?
Do what? I'm sorry?
Was he awake during that time?
No, he was not.
Okay.
He wasn't awake at all from the time that he got at the hospital, basically from his accident until, you know, later on. He was not awake at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually had him on a vent at that point whenever we went back and saw him. And I don't know, like, I have zero knowledge of medical stuff. Like, I don't know about any of it. So I don't know how normal this is, how not normal it is. But his mom works at a hospital. She does x-rays and mammograms. So she kind of knows a little more than I do. So she's kind of helping explain things to me. And so they tell us after we see Cody, you know, just go back out and we'll keep you updated with everything. So we go back outside, and, you know, at this point it's maybe 2, 3 in the morning. A doctor calls us and says, hey, you know, we're gonna, he does have a very bad traumatic brain injury. We are gonna, you know, keep a close eye on it. And if we have to put this bolt in there to measure the pressure to see if we're going to have to do brain surgery, that's what we'll do. We're going to keep a close eye on it, you know, for the next few hours. So about an hour later, he calls me and he tells me they're about to have to do brain surgery. At this point, my mom is there, Cody's brother, you know, Cody's mom, Cody's dad, you know, so I'm like, well, can you meet me outside and can we talk about this? So he sends an anesthesiologist out there, and the anesthesiologist is very frantic and is telling me that they're going to go ahead and have to do brain surgery. They're not even going to put the bolt in his head because his brain is swelling so much. So they're just going to have to go ahead and do brain surgery. And I just fall to the ground. Can't get up, just bawling my eyes out because, I'm just like, wait, what? And they're asking me to sign this, to hurry up and sign this paper. We need you to sign this. We need your permission. And I'm like, is this even the right thing to do? What do I do? And they're like, this is the only chance he has. If you don't sign this, he won't make it. And there's a very good chance that he won't even make it through this surgery. But this is our only hope. Right. So I can't get myself off the floor. His dad has to end up signing the paper. And it was just, we'll keep you updated. We'll keep you updated. Luckily, he went through the surgery. Everything was okay. He ended up having a traumatic brain injury, and it's a DAI level 3. So it's basically the worst brain injury at the worst level. He ended up staying at that hospital, the med, for about a month, I would say. And it was very touch and go the whole time that we were there. It was very like, we don't know if he's going to make it. He also had to end up having back surgery. He had to wear a neck brace for many, many weeks. He ended up not being paralyzed, thankfully. He was half a centimeter from being paralyzed on his neck, half a centimeter from being paralyzed on his back. So the medical team did a great job with that, and as far as how they moved him and everything. But there was just no way of knowing, because the whole time that he was at this hospital, he was completely out of it. I mean, he would wake up, but he wasn't up, like wasn't able to talk, wasn't able to eat the whole time he was there. He's on a feeding tube, on a vent. Multiple decisions had to be made while he was there, as far as putting him on a trach, just things that I would never, ever expect that I would have to go through. Being so young and just being like life-threatening things that I'm like, wait, what? And the one person that I want to talk to about things or help me make decisions is him.
Right.
I don't know what to do. And so my doctor was very concerned that I was going to go into early labor. So she had me come in very, very frequent. And luckily I did not end up having our baby early or anything. So they decided that his medical team had decided that they were going to send him to Shepherd, which is in Atlanta. They specialize in brain rehab and spinal cord injury rehab. So I'm like, okay, we're going to, this is what we're going to do. He's going to get the best care there. I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm just glad that he's to a point that that's where we can go. And, the whole time that he's at this hospital, no one's telling me they can't really tell you what's going to happen to him in the future or how he's going to be in the future. But I mean, they'll give you worst case scenario. They told me that he would never walk, he would never talk, he would never know who I was. He'd probably be on machines for the rest of his life. And I'm just like, what? We're just starting this life. We have everything planned out, and we just built a house, and we're about to have a baby. Like, what? What do you mean?
Right.
So he ends up going to Shepherd, and his leave date was December 1st. And, I'm due middle December. And so I'm like, talking to my doctor, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go with him. And she's like, no, you can't go with him to Atlanta. Like, you're about to have this baby. So, and I'm very upset that I can't go with him, but his mom ended up going with him, and I stay back. And he left December 1st to go to Shepherd's. I ended up having our son, Sawyer, on December 7th. And this whole time that Cody's in the hospital, from October to December, my mom took off work and stayed with me. So I wasn't alone. So I didn't go, if I were to go into labor or anything, she was here. So me and my mom went to the hospital, and I had Sawyer. And it was just very, very hard because, it's just those first moments you want to share them with your husband. And at this point, he didn't even know that I was even having the baby. Like, he wasn't with it enough mentally to even know. And we were also so scared to tell him, because I would talk to him on the phone, and he was able to talk just a little bit, but not fluent at all. I would get on the phone and talk to him and, tell him I loved him and stuff. So he knew that I cared, but he wasn't able to really talk to me. So we talked about it, my mom, his mom, and they said, I think it's time that we tell Cody that you've had the baby. And it was, I think, a day after I had Sawyer. So I told him, and he told me, congratulations.
Wow.
And I just think that's something that I'll never forget, because it wasn't him that was saying that, because like he wanted this so bad. He wanted a baby so bad. And I know that he wouldn't have missed all of this for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show that like he really wasn't with it, you know? I mean, he didn't understand. And it's hard whenever this person looks like your husband and is your husband, but isn't acting like your husband. And you just want to shake him and be like, wake up, like, hey, it's me, like, you know, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's very hard to accept and just know.
Yeah.
So after I had Sawyer, my mom left, I think Christmas Day. She decided that she was going to have to go home, you know, go back to work. And I completely understood. Cody was still in Atlanta. They projected him to stay there for 2 months. And then he needed to come back to the hospital he was at to begin with to have his skull flap put back on, another brain surgery to put that back on. And then he would go back to Atlanta for another 2 months for outpatient rehab at Shepherd's.
Mm-hmm.
So the first, I mean, I was just so scared to be alone with Sawyer. I was like, you know, a first time mom, and I was like, am I doing everything right? And you don't have that person to lean on or like ask, like, hey, is this right? Or like confide in. I mean, I definitely called my mom more times than I can count, but it was hard. It was very, very hard. And then in the back of your mind, you're still thinking, is my husband going to make it? Like, is he even going to, at this point, he hadn't even met Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever Sawyer was 2 weeks old, I was able to take Sawyer to Atlanta, meet Cody, which Sawyer was not allowed in the hospital. And I wasn't allowed to stay because at that time they had shut down the hospital for COVID. So anybody that was in the hospital had to stay. Everybody else couldn't come in. Like there was no like switching visitors. So we were able to go see Cody, and I had to come back home. So the next time I was able to see Cody was February. Yes, February. So he came back to Memphis, had his skull flap put back on, and everything went well. We were home for about a week and a half, and then we were supposed to go to Atlanta, and I was so conflicted about what to do because, you know, I have a job, and, you know, what do I do? Do I go back to work right now, or do I go be there with Cody and, you know, take Sawyer? Do I uproot my newborn? Like, what do I do? So I decided that it was going to be best for me and Sawyer to go with Cody, and Cody's mom also came. So we drove down to Atlanta, and they housed us in this tiny apartment, but I mean, it got us by, you know, and he went through outpatient rehab for those 2 months. And I just didn't want there to be a disconnect between him and Sawyer, because there already is so much of a disconnect because he's missed so much and he's just not himself. It's just so different than any way I could ever picture things to be. Mm-hmm. So we went to Atlanta and did that, and, you know, it's time for him to come home. So we came home, and at this point, you know, our son is 4 months old, and I'm like, okay, do I go back to work now? But like, you know, who's going to watch Sawyer? Because none of this, we didn't have anything planned out as far as childcare before Cody's accident happened. So I'm like, who's going to watch Sawyer? And then, I mean, Cody was in a wheelchair. He had to have help, you know, bathing, like doing everything. I mean, I had to help him do everything. And I'm like, I can't leave him alone, not only with Sawyer, but just alone by himself.
Right.
So I didn't go back to work until August. Cody eventually got out of the wheelchair and to a walker. He's still in therapy. You know, he continued to go to therapy even once he got home. Continued to see many doctors, and is still in therapy. He's actually off of the walker now and using a cane. But yeah, so that's the story of his accident, and it's almost 3 years later. October 25th this year will be 3 years, and I mean, there's just so much that I could say about it and talk about. I just don't know where to stop or start.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That is a lot to go through while you're pregnant with your first kid. I can't even fathom having to go through that myself, and thankfully you did. You had your mom there to help you when you had your baby, and everything. And it's just, I don't even have words to say other than I'm sorry that this is something that you have had to go through at the start of becoming a mom, because just becoming a mom for the first time in and of itself can be so difficult and such a big transition. But now you're also having to learn how to take care of your husband now as well. Like, just such a huge, huge burden to carry. And I applaud you for doing all that you did while also being a first time mom and taking care of an infant and your husband. And yeah, the amount of jewels you will have on your crown when you make it to heaven is going to be astounding.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And I mean, there's definitely days, even now, that are so hard because, I mean, Cody is Cody, but he's a different Cody. Right. And that's okay. And there's some days that I still get mad and I ask why or how, but I'm still so thankful. I mean, I just remember days of me just begging God, please keep him here, just begging nurses, do whatever you can to save him. I cannot live this life without my husband. Like, please, so although it wasn't easy, and still some days it isn't easy, just doing both and trying to manage it all, I'm still so thankful. I mean, he's nothing short of a miracle that he's even here. And he knows completely who I am, who Sawyer is. Mentally, he is very, very stable as far as like knowing what's going on. Things are slower, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he doesn't know anything. He knows.
Right.
But no, there's days that are very, very hard. And there's been times that I'm like, I just don't think I can do this anymore. Like, how am I going to make it till tomorrow, But, and then I just sit there and think like, no, you need to be thankful that God saved him, thankful that God kept him here for you, for Sawyer. Like, Sawyer gets a dad, because at a certain point, I was like, Sawyer's not even going to ever get to meet his dad. Like, that is just gut wrenching, to even think about that. So, I mean, there are hard days, but I definitely am so thankful. I would definitely rather have it this way than the alternative. Like, I'll take the hard days over the alternative any day.
Right. Yeah. I remember when the accident first happened and you sent me a picture of you holding Cody's hand in the hospital. And the only words on the text was just like, Savannah, I can't lose him. And I remember whenever it got put on like social media, just asking for prayers and prayers and prayers, and people reaching out to me asking, what's happening. And I'm like, I don't know the details, but like, you just need to pray. Like that's all that needs to be done, is just constant prayers. And, being so, being so far away from you during that time was gut wrenching, because I felt like I couldn't do anything to help you. And so I know that you felt how surrounded in prayer you were, but like,
100%.
It was just, I knew that was all I could do was just pray. But I just remember that time of just feeling so useless. Like, what can I do to help this? And I remember talking to you after, and I just remember you always saying, like, after everything, you'd be like, but obviously I'm so thankful he's here. And I was always like, you don't have to remind me that you're thankful he's here. Like, I know that, but at the same time, like, I want you to be taken care of as well.
Right.
And
I just don't want it to ever be a thing of like, oh, okay, like, I mean, 'cause it's hard. Like, and then every brain injury is different. And that is what's so hard about the whole situation, is there's no book about like a right and wrong, or this is what is going to be the first few months. And then after this is what's going to happen. Everybody's different. And so there was no thing for me to look at and say, okay, or even a doctor to tell me this is what you need to expect. So like a lot of things that have happened or did happen, like I didn't know or didn't expect. And I just didn't want to be like, I was complaining about it, or just, I do still want him here, and I would rather have him here rather than anything I go through. And I would do it all over again just to keep him here with us.
Right. And like I said, you've gone through this with such grace and such strength, and I'm so thankful that we got to spend time with you this last time we went to Memphis, and because that was the first time that I'd seen Cody since before his accident, and obviously just seeing what your routine is now is obviously it's a much different view than what either of us have ever had envisioned our life.
Right.
But, you are the true definition of living to your vows of, sickness and in health. And you have overcome so much. And I know, with these kind of injuries, you don't know what the recovery is going to look like. Every single person is different. And, I have had my fair share of seeing these type of injuries when I worked in the hospital, and, there's no clear answer you can give to a family. And, sometimes it is the best to just give people the worst case scenario so that they're prepared for that worst case scenario. And then everything less than that it's a win. And, I'm so thankful that he's overcome the way that he has to not require a wheelchair. He can talk. He knows exactly where he is, who he's with. And all that, he's on one medicine. That's a blessing in itself. He went through everything he's been through, and he's on one medicine. That's huge. There's people out here in this world that have had no injuries and are on more than one medication, Right. Yeah. He is, like you mentioned, he is an absolute miracle. And I truly believe, all of you, but, obviously I'm biased towards you, but.
Well, thank you.
But, you are just such a true testament of the Lord and how he works in these crazy ways. And, as awful of a thing this is, it's such a push for people to look at the Lord and be like, look what he's helped him overcome and helped this family overcome.
Absolutely.
And
there's been many times and many days that I've, wanted to say why, and you can't help but question, God, why did this happen to me? Because, and not that you want it to happen to anybody else by any means, but he was a great guy. I mean, still is, but he was a great guy. Like, he did not deserve any of this.
Right.
I'm like, why him? What was, he was at work doing what he was supposed to do and fell because he was showing someone what needed to be fixed.
Right.
He did what his boss told him to do. It's not like he was, drinking and driving, or not that that would be okay or anything, but, he was at work trying to provide for his family. And this is what happened. It was just a hard pill for me to swallow, and still is. But then, I'm also reminded of, you can't sit there and ask God why. You have to, and then I'm also asking God how. Like, how is he still here?
Mm-hmm.
How is he doing as good as he's doing?
Right.
How does Sawyer have a dad? How do I still have a husband? How are we still able to function as a family? And, how do I still get to live this life that I thought I wasn't going to be able to live anymore?
Right.
Yeah. I do want to ask you, you mentioned a moment ago that Cody is still there, but he's not the same Cody. Can you kind of expand on that a little bit? Like how his personality has changed?
Yeah. And I can, and then maybe Savannah can tell you a little more too. Just because she has seen him, and because I don't really have the best words to describe it, but so he still has like a little bit of a speech problem. So he doesn't talk as much as he used to because he's not comfortable with his voice. But he used to joke all the time. He's not going to ever be at a place where he can go back to work where he was working at before. Just some things are a little different, sometimes, and he doesn't get like these mad outbursts where he just like, we will be out in public and he just gets mad at people. But he doesn't have that. And I know that's very common in brain injury patients, so thankfully he doesn't do that. But he does get mad at, silly things. And because he's mad at himself, honestly, for not being able to do the things that he used to do. And that was just something new, just like how he handles conflict now, is completely different than how he used to handle it before. Even like him getting onto Sawyer. So I always thought before his accident that he was going to be the one that was really the punisher, going to get onto Sawyer, because he always was like that with our dog, and I was more of the pushover. And now he will not get onto Sawyer. He just, lets him get away with murder because I think he just feels bad and he doesn't want to be the bad guy. But there's just certain things. I mean, he's still in there, and that's what's hard for me too, is like some days I just want to shake him and be like, I see you in there, and I just want to pull the all old Cody out of him.
Right.
And I do get glimpses of it here and there, but it's not, he has a hard time like initiating conversation. Mm-hmm. Like in the very beginning, they would, like, some of his therapy would be just for him to like make the initiation to, get up and go outside or take Sawyer for a walk or whatever. It's just, it just affects so many things, and you don't realize what all it affects until you see it. I mean, it affects so many things, but his balance is the most thing that it affects, overall. Like, he has a very, very hard time with balance. Mm-hmm. And like, he's still not able to drive. Like, his depth perception is off. I mean, it changes your vision. It changes pretty much everything. Because, if you think about it, your brain does control everything. Mm-hmm. So it really does affect everything. And so I don't really know the best words to say that he's, all the ways that he's changed, but he's just not 100% the same as he was before. And I'm not either. I just think that this accident has changed all of us that have been through it. But I mean, Savannah, what would you say as far as what you saw about how he acts?
Yeah, I know. I mean, before this last time that we saw him, the last time I saw him was y'all's wedding. Mm-hmm. And, I saw him previous times before that as well. And I always just remember, I mean, Cody was more of a quiet one. I mean, Megan is definitely the
outgoing one,
the outgoing, spontaneous one in that couple. But he was more on the quieter side, but he was always just sarcastic. He was making jokes.
Yes.
And, he was always even he didn't know me as well. Like, he knew me from what Megan has told him, but he welcomed me every single time, and we would have conversations, no problem. And then, but I noticed this last time, just because obviously I hadn't spoken to him or anything since the mm-hmm. accident. So obviously his speech was new to me because I didn't know how he was in that sense. But, right. I mean, I noticed he still has that little bit of like sarcasm in him that still will come out. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the frustration level is just lower in this sense of, I feel like he probably just feels frustration more, I guess, easier than before.
Right.
Just because, I mean, like you said, he's still in there. Like, he was still talking to us about, he still has mm-hmm. all the same hobbies, fishing. The night we went to dinner, he came home from fishing, and we were talking about the different fish, and he's still him. And I can't imagine the frustration he must feel to like try to get out what he wants to say, and it's not coming out the way that he anticipates it to, or he wants it to.
Right.
And so I can imagine the amount of frustration that can do that, or that can cause that. But yeah, I notice a shift in his personality, but I mm-hmm. think it's that level of frustration that probably, is he not talking because he doesn't want to take the time to get what he's trying to think out? Or, is it just he's frustrated with something? I don't know. But his walking when we saw him this last time was astonishing to me. Just knowing everything that he had gone through, to see him walking on his own, with his cane, that I didn't expect him to do that. I was expecting him to still be in a wheelchair or just fully use like a 4-legged like walker. And mm-hmm. so to see him be able to walk with a cane was incredible. But yeah,
it is. And I mean, it's incredible the amount of work that he does put in. I mean, he goes to the gym now pretty much every day. You know, he can't drive, but he'll have somebody take him there, and you know, it's 5 minutes away from our house. But I mean, I don't go to the gym, you know, and just that level of motivation of like, you see somebody walking with a cane into the gym and you're like, dang, I need to get my butt in there, you know, it's just that he wants to get better and he wants to be able to do the things that he was able to do before. I mean, whenever this accident happened, he was 28 years old. So, you know, we had our whole life ahead of us. And, you know, I see why he's so frustrated. It's, you know, and being the man of the house, you know, and having all that independence taken away from you and not to be able to do the things that you were able to do that, you know, are just so small. I mean, it definitely has to be frustrating. And, you know, although I am his wife and he wouldn't want anybody else to take care of him, I know that it's hard as a man to have to, you know, think that, oh, my wife has to help me, you know, bathe or, you know, do anything. Right, and so I know it's just like taking a man card away. You know, I know that it's hard for him because he was a very hard worker, you know, and just to not be able to do the things like that anymore, I know it has to hurt.
Yeah. In regards to like his recovery, has he recovered as much as he ever will, or is there still more that he can hopefully eventually get to?
So it depends on who you ask. I mean, obviously, I mean, he's always going to get some better, you know, just like us, you know, we learn new information every day. We grow a little more every day. And same goes for him. But as far as like most of the like big things, what will happen in 1 to 2 years. So like all of this happened at work. So it's a workers' comp claim. So his doctors recently have put him at MMI, which means maximum medical improvement. It doesn't mean that he's supposed to stop therapy and, you know, this is the absolute best that he will get. But overall, yes and no. That's a yes and no question. You know, we definitely hope that he will be able to drive again at some point, but we don't think it's going to happen overnight either. Okay. You know, there's still things that he needs to do. And he goes to physical therapy, he does cognitive therapy, and he does computer work every day. For, you know, his brain, he does it for his depth perception. There's so many different things that he does. Like he does like 2.5 hours of computer work every day, or 5 days a week, you know, just to help with certain things. So he's definitely still getting better. But as far as like the big picture of things, yes, you know, this is, you know, yes and no. I mean, I never want to like give up on him or think that, no, this is the best it's going to get. I definitely do think that he will get better. I mean, and it's all about determination and motivation and how good do you want to get, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that he is motivated and wants to go to the gym. And I think that Sawyer is what has made him get this far, you know, the things that he wants to do with Sawyer, you know, he wants to be able to take him outside. He wants to be able to do those things. And so I feel like Sawyer has been such a good push for him as far as getting better every day.
Yeah.
What a story,
right?
You should really write a book.
I really should, but it would be so long. And there's so many things that I still haven't even said, you know, that like will come to me later on, or like, you know, that have just been left out, or, you know, there's so many things. And I'm just like, some days I wake up and I'm like, what? Is this real life? You know, because right. I mean, for the most part, before this accident, and not that our life isn't normal now, but we lived a pretty normal life, you know, like looking back, I'm like, dang, you know, we had it made.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, you just don't expect to go through something so big like this being so young. I mean, I feel like whenever the doctors were telling me things, and even now whenever I'm having to talk to attorneys or this person or that person, I'm like, I still feel like I'm a kid. Like I'm not the adult here. Somebody else needs to be here to help me.
Yeah.
That's
how I still feel like with like, if I take my kid to like the doctor and they ask me questions about them, and I'm just like, I don't know, you know, like,
yeah. But, and I mean, I remember like Cody used to take care of all the finances before his accident. Like I knew nothing about the finances. I didn't know what comes out, how he pays it, you know, like I didn't know.
Yes, exactly.
And so
Like I have thought about this, especially like knowing, like leading up to this conversation with you. Like I have thought about like if something ever happened to my husband, I would not in the slightest idea know how to pay for anything like financial wise. Like I don't know, like we'd probably be kicked out of our house. Like the electricity would turn off, the water would turn off, like the car payment, couldn't tell you how that's done. Like I have zero knowledge on how anything financial wise happens. I just know he goes to work, money gets turned in, and I get to live my life. I get to buy, you know, groceries for the family, and that's it.
Yep. That's me. I mean, and I worked, don't get me wrong, but I just like didn't know. Like, I mean, he took care of all that. So I didn't know the first thing about any of it. I mean, after his accident happened, my mom was like, we're going to have to go to the bank and like, they're going to have to print you out statements of like what he's done in the past, you know, few months so you know. And I'm like, oh crap, you know? And like, cause he likes to have, he's so tight with money and, you know, just very particular, and that's fine. That's not me, but, you know, he puts this amount in this account for this, you know, and I'm just like, I just can't keep it. I mean, just this in itself is a job, you know, and now I got to take the trash out too.
Oh, I love that. Well, speaking of like money and working, as you know, Megan, we do talk about a shirt segment at some point in these episodes. And we wanted to hear, because I'm wearing, I know I've told you my obsession with this shirt that I got from Bells, and my just obsession with your boutique in general. But
we were literally scrolling through the Instagram right before we called you, looking at everything.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. I also love that I can get University of Tennessee stuff from there because I can't get University of Tennessee stuff here. And
and if they keep, I mean, based off last night, if they keep winning, we'll just get more and more, you know. But
oh my gosh, I know that game. That game was so good last night.
Oh my God, what a fighter!
So we just wanted to hear a little bit about your boutique, how you found it, and just let you have a little shout out for your boutique, and everyone can go check it out.
So I work at, it's called Bayou Bells Boutique. It's in Covington, Tennessee. It's on a square. I myself think we have a pretty good square, but I found it whenever I moved here. You know, some of the girls that I have been hanging out with are like, yeah, let's go up here, you know. And so I was like, oh, yeah, they really have cute clothes. So for a few years, I mean, I didn't work there, but then I started working there just on the weekends. And I actually worked at a neurology clinic for a little while. And right before I went to work there, my boss, which I have the two best bosses in the absolute world, they're more like family than anything. Mm-hmm. They offered me a full-time position, and I decided not to take it. So I went and worked at this neurology clinic and worked there for about 3 weeks and came back, and I was like, please let me come back. Please let me have that full-time job. So working there full-time, 4 or 5 years. And they were so just lenient with me during all of this with Cody. They were so helpful. I mean, like I said, they're more like family than bosses, but, we have an Instagram, we have Facebook, we have a TikTok. I'm still learning how to do all the things. Like, I feel like a lot of the girls that work there are young and they're just trying to teach me how to even use the phone. But, so if you want to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, we ship for free. Wherever you are, just call us. We can get you whatever you need if you see something that you like or have a question about how it fits or anything. But I love it. I love my job more than anything. And I think that makes such a huge difference when you are able to go to work and actually love what you do.
Yeah, yes. I totally agree. And I know this last time I was up there, I got to have a little shopping day there, and everyone was just so sweet. And I was actually telling Emily before we recorded that I remember like looking through and I found like one dress, and you were like, oh, I'll start a dressing room for you. And whenever I went back, every hook in this dressing room was full. And I was like, where do I even start? But like I was telling Emily, the fact that everything was my size, how that was possible, I don't know. But like everything. And I wanted to buy literally everything. And I was telling Emily that even after I left, there was a dress that I really regretted not buying. And I ended up like having that shipped later. And
Yeah.
I've had stuff shipped. I recently had a Tennessee hat and shirt shipped, and they are really like, they answer the Instagram like really quickly. And I just, I love it. I love it so
thank
much.
You. Yeah, we try to have a little bit of everything for everyone. I mean, we have men's, baby. We have shoes, purses. And she also, my boss really likes to have it, you know, like not just geared towards younger people or older people. We kind of have a mix of both, just so we can kind of fit everybody. And I mean, we love to shop for people. Like, you tell us where you're going, we want to pick an outfit out for you.
Yep.
So, and that's what a lot of people have trouble with. They're like, I'm going to a wedding, but I don't know what to wear, you know, or I have family pictures and these are the colors I'm needing. So that's what we love to do. We love to just make people feel good about what they're wearing, you know.
I loved it. When I was trying on everything, every time I came out, everyone was hyping me up. And
I know Savannah was talking about it. I was like, dang, that's the type of shopping day like I need right now.
Oh my gosh. I
Girl,
loved
come
it.
On. Come on.
I think Savannah and I, what we've discovered is that we just need to take a trip to Tennessee and just go shopping.
Yeah.
Please do. Please do. And I will go shopping with y'all. Like, it's so hard for me not to spend all my money there too, because I'm like, ooh, I really like this. And then, you know, you try it on and then your friends that work there are like, oh yeah, that really looks good on you. And then it's just sitting there staring at you in the face the rest of the day that you're there. So it is hard, but it is so much fun. It is, I mean, I would not want to be doing anything else than what I am doing. And I just love going to work, and I enjoy working with all the girls up there, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's so good. I was telling Emily, everyone there is just so stylish. Like I have
pretty.
absolutely no style at all.
Same.
But
I think, you definitely have more than what you think. You know what I mean? Like, you just, and sometimes whenever I wear things, I'm like, I don't know if this looks good, but like, I don't know. You just got to put it on and you just got to rock it. You just got to have confidence in yourself. You got to be like, yeah, this is what we're doing, you know?
yeah. I mean, there's been so many times I'll send pictures of myself in outfits to Megan, and I'm like, does this look okay? I don't know. I'm sure I'll be messaging you at some point this week or next week to tell me what to wear for family pictures. But
yeah,
I loved every moment I've had whenever I went shopping there. And
well, thank you. We really appreciate that. And I'm glad that you loved it as much as I do. And Emily, we're just waiting on you now.
Yeah. Come on, here we go.
I
don't know if your husband will ever let you come back, but
yeah, that's how Aaron felt whenever we left. He was like, do I want to know how much you just spent? I was like, nope.
Don't even ask.
Nope, you sure don't.
If
and
you
then
don't ask, then it was free.
Whenever the dress came in the mail like a week later, he was like, I thought you didn't buy this. I was like, I didn't at first. And then I changed my mind.
Surprise.
And then this recent order with my Tennessee shirt and Tennessee hat, he goes, where did this come from? I'm like, it came from Belle's. And he was like, what? Okay. All right. I'm like, really, I should be able to buy something. When we first left Memphis this last time, I was like, every month, I think I deserve one thing.
Yeah.
Just one thing.
Oh,
You're working hard for it.
I know, especially
What's
now.
the point of being a boss babe if I can't look like a boss babe?
Right. And
that's right.
And Aaron is one that he's like, you shouldn't buy things online because you're going to get it and it's not going to fit. I'm like, not from here, because I have messaged Belle so many times and I'm like, how does this fit? Like, if I'm usually this size, would I need this size? Or like, I mean, this shirt I'm wearing is a medium. I'm not normally a medium, but like the way it fit, they told me, they're like, you're probably going to need a smaller size because it's more oversized.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
It looks fantastic.
Oh my God, I love it.
I love the
it
color.
so much.
I love the way it fits on you.
I wish the tag wasn't like rubbed, because I wear it a lot, and I wish
that tag out. It's fine.
I know, but I wish the tag wasn't like rubbed off so I can like look at the brand.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I'll just go into work I work tomorrow, so I'll go in there. We have a bunch of boxes that need to be unboxed. I'll just send you some pictures of what I think you might need.
Yep.
You know, not want, but need.
Just just snap them all my way.
Everything is a need.
That's right.
Well, we will definitely make sure that we post the boutique on our Instagram, and I'll even put it in like the description box of the episode itself, where you can now find again on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or now YouTube.
We are on YouTube now. Yay!
Yay!
So yeah, I guess we can go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah. But thank you so much, Megan, for coming on here and telling us your story. And it really means so much.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to come on. I listened every week, so I was like, I really want to do it. I don't know if y'all want me, but I want to come.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly, I know that there has to be somebody else out there going through, something similar or not even maybe in the same way, but maybe going through something and they feel like they're alone in it, and they just need to hear that somebody else is also going through something, and to just have that motivation to make it to the next day and then the next day, Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, I've known about the accident since it happened. And, I have mentioned aspects of it to Emily. And when we started the podcast, that was one of the things that we had said was, we want to talk to different moms and get their perspective of their journey into motherhood. And I always mentioned, wanting you to talk, but when it was right for you. And we never wanted you to feel like you had to talk about something you weren't ready to talk about. And I mean, it's a heavy thing. And, but, I continue to be so in awe of you and everything that you've gone through, and you've come out the other side, and you're continuing to go through. And you, like I said a million times, you've done it with such grace and such strength. And I love you. And
I love you. And I appreciate all those sweet words.
Well, we will. I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling Emily how we had to schedule a phone call a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. I did send Sawyer over to with Cody and his mom next door, because I'm like, I just can't with you right now. Like, he's free just everywhere, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to concentrate, and they're going to think that I don't have my crap together. And so I'll see you in a little while.
You don't even know how many times the girls, when they're both here, I mean,
you
even
don't need
just
to apologize for it. Like,
even this episode, Graceland's been popping in.
Graceland has interrupted multiple times.
But I have not heard her at all, so she's been so good.
All right. Well, thank you so much again for coming on and talking to us. And we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me on, y'all.
All right.
Yes, of course.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right.
What a good chat that was.
Oh, so good.
So good. And I think she laid it all out so well and everything. And I think it was good.
It was so good. There was actually parts of that story that like I didn't know certain details of, mainly because I know I've mentioned this before. Whenever I talk to her, I try to check on her.
Yeah.
And
which is so important with how much she has had to sacrifice of herself, not just for her son, but now for Cody. Like, it is so important that she is taking care of herself as well. And if she's not keeping it in check, like I really do think it like your relationship with her, I think, is such a godsend. That yes, you are so far away from her, but I know, like, just me talking to you, like how much she means to you and how much you want to be there for her and to check on her. And even though, yes, you guys had to schedule a phone call, like I do think like little things like that is helping her so much.
Yeah. And I keep saying it, but she really has. She's gone through this and with such grace, and she does not give herself enough credit at all. But, she's a heck of a fighter. Cody is too, and their whole family. But like I said, I am biased towards her.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our episode.
That's
today.
Our episode for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Even if you haven't gone through anything like this. Like it is still, to me, like I really don't know Megan. I only really know Megan through you. There are, our paths probably have crossed a couple times from just me kind of knowing you, but mainly probably Morgan through like the cheerleading connection there.
Right. Because we didn't get close till after Megan left.
Yeah. So I don't really know her that well, but she is so sweet. And I do think it is a powerful story to tell. And it's still going. I mean, they all still have a long road ahead of them.
Oh, yeah. This will be a forever change on their lives that it will continue to mold them every day. But it is such a testament of what the Lord can do.
Yeah.
And
I mean, she even said that he was like a centimeter away from like paralyzing his neck and a centimeter away from paralyzing his back. And it's like, that's the Lord.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not a believer, like there's no way you can't look at that and think, oh my gosh, like what grace there was there to save him from that. Cause I myself, I had an uncle that went through a very bad ski accident and ended up getting paralyzed. And, it is a lot, a huge toll when paralysis is involved. And the fact that he was able to be saved from that, like, is incredible. I mean, he's walking. Yes, he has a cane, but he fell 40 feet and he's walking. That is insane to me.
yeah. Well, that's how, because where Cody worked, it was a chemical plant, like she mentioned. It's the same kind of place that Aaron works. And
which is crazy that like your husband's
I know
did like similar things.
And, but like, I know what she means about the swing shift. Like Aaron's on swing shift. He's on nights right now. And, you know, I remember just feeling after the accident of just this fear of Aaron going to work. What if somebody forgets to do something?
Yeah.
Because like she mentioned, you know, her idea of what she thought an accident meant there was chemicals.
Yeah.
You know, there's been people falling in acid at chemical plants because somebody just doesn't put like a tarp back over something or just like something like that. And you just never know what really could happen at these places. And the fact that he is how he is after that, Aaron doesn't understand. He's like, I see how tall these things are. He's like, I don't understand how he is walking, how he's talking, how he is mentally there.
Just being alive. Like how do you fall 40 feet and you're living from it? Like that is insane.
It's just crazy. When I worked in the trauma ICU at Lakeland, we would have people fall off a ladder and have a traumatic brain injury and not wake up.
Yeah.
So how?
Honestly, the only way, and I wish I would have said this while she was on the line, but I'm sure she knows. Like she knows. But like it to me, when I listen to all of the facts and hear, it's like it's because God wasn't done with him yet. Like he is still here because God is not done with him yet. Yep. And yes, he has changed. He is not the same that he was before the accident, but he is still here for whatever reason that God still needs him to be here for.
Yeah.
So,
what a story. I mean, there's so many emotions and feelings towards the situation. I mean, obviously, I wish it didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
And I wish they were still just living their quote unquote normal life that they were.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm so grateful he is alive and he is doing as well as he is. But like Megan said, I'm sure there's many instances where you want to just be angry with God and just ask why.
Yeah.
And you know, why do bad things happen to good people? But I think just overall, like you mentioned, like he wasn't done with Cody. And Cody has inspired, I'm sure, so many people in their their town that they live in and surrounding towns. And he's going to continue to be an inspiration to his son. But at the same time, I think Megan's going to be a huge inspiration to Sawyer as he grows and sees the strength that she's put into this, and how all the sacrifices she's made and all that she's done to help Cody, but also to make sure that Sawyer has the life that he deserves too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's
very reminiscent of like the story of Job, like he had it all and then everything was taken away. His whole family, everything that he owned was taken away. But then going through that trial and tribulation, like then he gets it all back, but like tenfold, and who knows what is in store for them. But I can't help but just feel like in the future, like the blessings upon blessings that I feel are possibly just around the corner for them. For, Megan having, the strength that she's had and the faith that she has had. Like when you go through something like this, like your faith is tested. And when you listen to her talk about it, like she is so calm about it, and going through like your faith being tested in that way, I don't think I would be as graceful about it as she has been. She doesn't sound bitter. She doesn't sound mad. Like obviously, yeah, like you said, this could have been prevented if somebody else could have been more mindful of what they were doing at work. But yeah, I just can't help but think like God has something so much bigger in store for them in the future.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So that concludes our episode for today. It was a heavy one, but
yeah, but I don't think it was too heavy. It wasn't like there wasn't any crying happening. Although at one point I think you were maybe about to cry.
Yeah.
And I was like, crap. I can't look at her because then it's going to make me cry.
It is such a sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Just because it goes back to I hate that they have had to go through this.
Yeah.
But we kept it together.
Yes.
So yeah, we hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking around if you listened to the whole episode. I know it was a long one, but
yeah,
for good reason.
I think it was engaging. It's not like we were going,
right.
What more could we say?
Right.
I think it was a flow of conversation happening. So yes, but thank you for listening. And if I haven't said it enough, you can now find us on YouTube, which, I mean, again, it's just audio. We do not have actual video stuff happening. But if you've been sitting around thinking, dag nabbit, when are they going to get on YouTube? Here we are. It has happened. It is at Girls Talk Shirts Pod, or you could just type in the search bar, Girls Talk Shirts Podcast, and it should pop up. It's the same little pink logo on everything else. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening for another week. And
we probably won't be back for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
So just keep an eye out for the next episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to be. It's going to be in a couple weeks. I know when it's going to be. I don't know what the episode is going to entail, but
it might be about election stuff, like amendments. I don't know why I just have it in my heart that I need to talk about these amendments. But I also might not be able to find anybody that's able to come in and explain the amendments. So who knows? Maybe we'll finally get Aaron in the studio. I don't know. He's got, a crazy work schedule. So
yeah. Also, go to the Instagram and check out Megan's Boutique.
Yes.
In Tennessee. We will have it linked in the I was going to say description box, but it's not really a description box.
Well, on the episode itself, like wherever you are listening to the episodes, if you go to that description box, I'll make sure to link it. But like when I post about this new episode
on Instagram,
I will link it or like tag them in that. And that way you can find it that way too.
Yeah. I don't think you will be disappointed.
Absolutely not. Like we said earlier, we were scrolling through their Instagram and they all are so cute. They have videos and plenty of pictures and everything of like their inventory and everything. So
the Southern hospitality is just unmatched. So Anyways, that is it. We will finally sign off.
Yes. I don't know. Should we just wait until we hit the hour and a half mark?
All right, guys. Well, we'll catch you in the next one.
All right.
Bye.